Our topic for today's coffee talk is change and survival. Now, the reason that I'm going to talk about this is because I notice that there's so many who begin and find it as if they're walking around with their foot in a bucket, and they say to themselves, like I just recently had a one-on-one with somebody, and they just couldn't get started. They felt like I just can't do this. I feel like everything in my body is saying, don't get up. You can't get up, stay in bed. And other things are more difficult to get started. And so I gave this analogy, and that's why I want to do it here, because I really think that you'll benefit from this too. Change and survival. So I'm going to talk about survival right now. All right. And I'm hoping that you guys could see my screen, because I have an image here of a man who is, obviously freezing. And, the term that I put up was hypothermia. And this was one of the images that came up. Now, there's something that I want you to realize that the body does to survive, and how desperate the body is for survival. Now, when you are freezing, right, all the body cares about is survival. It doesn't care about quality of life. It doesn't care about how you will live after you have survived. All it cares about is survival. It's what we're made to do. So what happens when you have hypothermia, when you're freezing? First, that's why our fingers get cold first and our toes get cold first, because we can live without them. So it takes heat and energy that's in your fingers and your toes, and it moves it up to your vital organs. Now, you're still cold, so what does it do? It takes it from your hands, and it just completely moves down to you, from your limbs. So first your limbs loses everything. And why is that? Because you can live without your limbs. You cannot live without your vital organs. So it's the first thing that it wants to do, protect the vital organs for survival. The next thing it'll do, it tries to keep the brain alive, but guess what? You can live without a brain too. So it goes through these steps and stages where all that will happen is that we will live. So that if there's a period of time that goes by and somebody happens to find us, maybe we'll be brain dead. Maybe we won't be able to ever walk or use our hands again, but it doesn't care, because all it wants is to survive. Now, if the body is that desperate to survive, then what do you think it does when change comes in to our lives? It says, oh no, this seems dangerous. We have been surviving very well in the mess that we're in, or in the fat that we're in. The fat that we're surviving in that. It sees change as a risk of survival, as something that it may need to defend itself from, because it knows that in this state, it's safe. It doesn't care if it's the best thing for you. It doesn't even know if it's the best thing for you, because the body isn't made for that. It's our frontal lobe that is made for that. It is the part of us that makes us human, that makes us different than animals, that knows that. But when we've trained the body to be the mind, that's what happens. So that's why when you are trying to get up a little bit earlier in the morning, and I have to apologize if you guys hear the noise outside. There's a plow out there going back and forth and all that beeping sound. There's nothing I can do about that. Okay. So that's why when you're trying to do things differently in TTU, and you're saying, all right, I'm going to get up 30 minutes before I have to, it seems so like desperate to stay in bed. It seems like I cannot get out of bed. It's almost like you're going to die. And it's because your body thinks you're going to die. That's when we have to be our own mommies. That's when we have to understand. Now, this is the thing. If you recognize what's going on, then you can be your own mommy. But if you don't recognize it, then what are we going to do? We're going to see it for as it feels like it is. It feels desperate. It feels wrong. It feels going against everything you could possibly do to do that change. The reason it feels that way is because your body desperately needs you to stay in the status quo, because as long as you're in the status quo, it knows you will survive. Now I'm going to go on to the next slide. Hopefully it will let me. Let's see. Come on, move over. Okay. All right. Now this is the 10-day rule. Now, this is something that I just recently learned about. And there's a period of time that if you knew that after a certain amount of time, you're going to adjust, then you can push through. And there's a 10-day rule that is in place that after 10 days, your body will recalibrate. And so for 10 days, you're going to have to push through. Now, I know that you know that usually when you start something new, it doesn't happen right away because there's excitement, there's adrenaline. When you first started with TTU or any program, a diet program, or go to the gym, you started new classes or something, the very, very beginning, you don't have that feeling of dread. You don't have that feeling of, I don't want to get out of bed. It's kind of like, what is that? It's like the school trip thing, like every day you have to go to school. Maybe you have to get dragged out of bed. Oh, Mom, I don't want to get out of bed. No. But then it's a school trip and you're out of bed before Mom. You're all dressed. You're all ready to go. Your backpack's on and you're ready to leave because there's a school trip. There's an excitement to it. So yeah, in the very beginning, when you first get started, you're not going to experience that don't do it, don't get out of bed, because you have all that excitement, you have that adrenaline, your body doesn't recognize it as bad yet because it feels like something's good going to happen. I can do this. But after a little while, there's nothing exciting happening anymore. And the body starts to say, wait a minute, stay in bed. We're used to this. Now, there's other things involved here, like habits. The reason we have habits is so that we can continue to do things without having to learn them over and over and over again. Could you imagine if you had to learn how to walk upstairs every time you had to do it? That's why we're able to get in the car, put it in, start the ignition, put it in drive, take off. That's why we're able to do all that. We're able to do all that because with there's a mechanism up here that are habits, and there's a groove in our brain that lets us do those things over and over again. But the whole thing about survival, if you can just see how really desperate your body is to keep you in a specific place because it thinks it's going to die, then you can recognize what's going on, and knowing that after 10 days of doing something consecutively, your body will step back and say, oh, it wasn't that hard. I can keep going. And with every 10 days comes another level of acceptance from your body for you to push through. That wasn't so bad. I can do that. That wasn't so bad. I can do that. Whereas before it was miserable to get out of bed, and now you're hopping out of bed. Now it's exciting. Now you're happy to do it. So that's something that I think that if you understood, when I found that 10-day thing, I thought it was really exciting and I wanted to share it with you. So that's that. All right. And the other thing is this, keep calm. And instead of, love your body, teach your body. Keep calm and teach your body. We have to recognize that this is what's happening. This is what's happening on the inside of us. This is what's going on. It's physiological. It's psychological. It's everything going against what it is that you want. There's a verse in the Bible that says that spirituality is enmity against the flesh, or the flesh is enmity against, how does it go? The spirit is, spirit is against the body. All right, that's the best way I could put it, because there is a better way of saying it in an exact verse, and for some reason it's slipped my mind. But the flesh and the spirit, they war against each other. All right, it's what they do. The flesh is all about um, doing things mechanically. That's what the animal is, doing things mechanically. That's why they say a leopard can't change their spots and a tiger can't change their stripes. That's why a scorpion is a scorpion is a scorpion is a scorpion. But we're different than that. But the thing that makes us different is our spirits. It's the part of our brain that's developed so differently than that animal has. And if we can recognize that and then separate it, separate it, say, all right, I understand that I'm body, I'm soul, and I'm spirit. All right. I live in a body, I have a soul, I am a spirit. So let me integrate all three of those things in my daily living, and not just the one. We're so used to living in the body and reacting to stimuli on the outside of us that we've not trained ourselves. We've not taught ourselves how to supersede that. Sometimes I talk to myself. If there's something that's going on, like say I'm late for something, all right? I'm on my way to go somewhere and I didn't stop for gas first. Let's just pretend, all right? I didn't stop for gas first. I didn't go to get gas yesterday knowing that I had to get gas, and now I need to get somewhere. I have just enough time to get there, but I have to stop for gas. And so what happens is I start to panic. Now, nothing's happening, right? Nothing's happening. I'm not going to die. I'm just going to be late for something. The level of panic is way above what it needs to be. But it's because we've trained our bodies to be the mind. And so instead of like that fight and flight thing that we have, instead of us recognizing, no, there's no saber-toothed tiger back there ready to kill me, I'm just going to be late. I'll talk to myself and I'll say, okay, listen, I know that you're there to protect me and to keep me safe, but there's nothing to keep me safe from here. Everything's okay. I'm not going to die. Everything is fine. You're just going to be late. And then that part of me that is so used to being there to protect me calms down a little bit. It's there for me. All of these things are there for us. But we have, as spiritual beings, not taken the reins. We've not taken the reins. We've handed them over to the part of us that is not superior. And so what's happening? We're being led by our senses. We're being led by what we could see, hear, feel, taste, and touch. And those things are temporal. How many times have you said, I'm not going to have the ice cream. I'm just not. And while we're resisting it, yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. But then when we resisted it, we feel so good. We feel wonderful. It's like, I did it. How wonderful is that? I did it. The next time it gets easier because there's a reward. There's a reward that's given. And we're teaching our bodies that it's not so bad not to have the ice cream. I can have it later. And it's not going to kill me. Same thing that happens when you're losing weight. Your body thinks it needs to survive on 3,000 calories a day. So you want to bring that down, your body's going to rebuke. It's going to say, we might die without that. Now what do you have to do? You have to do it long enough, resist all of the temptations till your body says, oh, look, I have 2,000 calories today, and we survived just fine. Not only that, but I feel better. Now, 2,000 is the new mark. See what I mean? It's the same thing with getting the house cleaned. You have to realize that this is what's happening within you. Push through, knowing that this is what's happening. Your body just wants to survive. It's doing you a favor, it thinks. Push through. Make yourself do it, right? Just like you make yourself go to work, go to school, brush your teeth, right? Make yourself do it. It'll get easier and easier and easier. And then not only that, but it'll get, something that you prefer to do rather than stay in bed all day or stay in bed in the morning, later realizing that you'll see the definite contrast of having some time to sip your coffee and relax before you leave the house or before you get started with your day, as opposed to the running around like a nut or looking like a real slob answering the door because you're not dressed at noon and you feel like crap about it, and you feel that feeling of answering the door at noon. Oh, hello, how are you? All dressed and ready, like the difference that it feels, the dignity it gives you. You'll get that feeling of reward, and it will become the new norm. It will become what your body wants to do to survive rather than the survival of living without arms and legs, right? Okay, so I'm going to stop now with my coffee talk, and I'm going to look to see if there's any questions or comments. Hopefully you guys are able to do that. So far, all I see is Rose, although we have a bunch of people in our call. All right, so I'm going to say goodbye now. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.